Hello there, commanders, and welcome to Total War Arena National Cup. It is a Total War Arena tournament organized by War Games Institute, the very same Chinese content creator that organized the War Games Institute tournament that SUNTZU took part in. If you want to watch that, link in the top right corner. But now let's talk about this tournament in particular. This is National Cup, meaning that clans aren't participating, but the teams are made up of national representations. There are 6 teams, and for the opening match of the first round, we've got China versus France. China being the blue team, and France being the red team. Let's disable Fog of War so that you can see everything. And I'll quickly explain the format, and then we will get to the battle. So it is a single round robin. Each team plays each team once, one match that consists of 2 battles. So it can either be a victory and a loss or a tie. And after the round robin, top 4 teams advance to the playoff stage with semifinals, 3rd place match, and the final. As for the battle rules, 8v8, tier 6, no stakes on melee units, and the rest of the rules are the same as on the previous tournament. I mean, those are also the same rules as in the previous tournament. So, let's get into the battle itself. So there we go. Chinese team has put some pikes on the right flank. They're going to be supported by foxes and dogs. They're also sending glaives and swords in their archers as well, so it looks like the Chinese team is sending quite a lot of forces to the right flank. French team looks to be committing quite heavily to the center already, even though it takes 3 minutes for C to unlock. French team also has 2 ranged players, as opposed to Chinese team only 1 ranged player. China also deploys 4 units on the left side. The French team has already captured the watchtower with their cavalry. The foxes are advancing forward on the far right flank, but there's nothing really for them to flank over there. So we'll see if they will launch attack at C, but if they do, it's 2 versus 4 units of infantry. The fighting in the center already erupts. Ranged units of the French team are already harassing, and China is pushing quite heavily on the right flank towards A, and France is retreating. They're suffering some casualties from the ranged fire, but nothing heavy. The pikes are mowing down infantry in the center. They got flanked from behind. Cavalry is attacking some incoming reinforcements, but C is still 1.5 minutes away from being unlocked. And France is reacting to the Chinese push by sending a lot of forces away from C towards A. China is sort of retreating, reorganizing before they can get. The archers are on a pretty good position here on top of the hill, but they cannot get flat arcs. Meanwhile, the repeating crossbows will get sort of flat arcs and absolutely wreck one of the archer units already. And on tier 6, repeating crossbows are much stronger than archers, which you can already see in action. As long as they have vision on these archers, which is provided by these melee units, they are very good. And being said, those melee units are being cut down by pikes, and I think pikes are cutting down equally the enemies and allies alike. But either way, sending all those units away from C towards A to defend by the French team means that they left only the pikes on top of C, and now the pikes are kind of in a predicament as they are being surrounded by 4 or 5 different units of the Chinese team. On the left flank, still nothing. The foxes are sort of approaching. They are Armenians, so they went into infiltration, and they will be looking to launch some kind of attack on E, but I don't really see that working. China sending even more reinforcements, another 3 melee units coming to C, as C is about to unlock in 10 seconds. It looks like China will control C. France is getting a hold of A, rather managing to defend it nicely. The Chinese team attack is slowly losing steam, or running out of steam. Archers targeting the dogs, doing some nice damage. Archers being slowly pushed away by the French team's melee units. Here's a blob of swords, a blob of spears fighting some swords. And China made it on top of A. They're pushing the range units away, but they themselves don't really have enough melee units left to really get hold of A. If those spikes could manage to push away all the melee units as well, then maybe I can see A being flipped, but other than that, not really. And as I said, China took control of C. Those spikes have been routed or obliterated. One unit made it out alive, going now back to the base to heal up in there. Folksmen have finally attacked on E, but they didn't manage to get on top of E, so the point isn't contested. The cavalry will now contest. And okay, recharge doesn't really do much damage, and I don't really see those foxes winning here, so it's just sort of buying time and decreasing the Chinese team's point gain per second. On A, France is mopping up the Chinese remains. The pikes are doing their spin to win dance on top of A. Archers will target them, maybe, and then these pikes should be done for. But China has a really nice position here on the cliff behind C, on their healing zone, harassing the repeating crossbows that were being chased all the time by the Chinese melee units. But being behind the cliff means they cannot pursue, so that is over. Now China is launching a counter attack towards B. B is only protected by one Folksman unit, and they're already sending 3 units, 2 of spears, 1 of glaives. That should be able to kill the Folksmen very easily. The point here was being captured a little bit because one of the units got routed, but the Folksmen are dying, the cavalry is dying, and the Chinese team can just heal up very closely here. No time lost. In the meantime, the Chinese attack begins on B. One unit holds the foxes from the front, the other just pushes through behind, and those foxes should be obliterated sooner or later. Now the French team is healing up on their base and already launching some kind of attack on C. A little bit of desynchronized attack, so that's a little bit of a problem. They're also doing the same on A. Chinese team also needs to heal up around D and C. They're gonna use the C healing zone, and the pikes now are holding D in case French team wants to find some counter attack onto D. Chinese team is in a very good position right now, holding 3 points, capturing a 4th one. So they're setting themselves up for success, and it's the French team that needs to find some way to get back into the game. Let's see if they can do it. They are sort of launching an attack on C, but that attack, all the ranged units that are in the center are delayed by a single melee unit. Yes, this melee unit will die, but it's buying a lot of time. And because of unit coherency memes, it teleports back to safety. Sadly, it was straight into the embrace of some swords, so they very quickly died. Now very nice rear volley into some swords from the French team, and now their 6 ranged units advance. Let's see what can they do. They're fighting some chip damage onto the infantry that's holding C, but the infantry from the French team is slowly disappearing as there wasn't much of them anyway at the beginning. Now the French team, after losing B, they are sending some reinforcements. The Folksmen that died have now respawned on the base and are rushing straight towards B, and maybe they can take it. They're also sending pikes and cavalry over there, so now they're committing to B, which probably means that C isn't going to look so hot for them. Archers have now a very nice target in those Folksmen, can deny the healing, but Chinese archers are pushing them away with a barrage, but the French team's archers are dodging it pretty nicely. And now again, China is applying pressure with melee units, pushing the French ranged units away, and they cannot really do anything because they just lack sufficient melee protection, melee front line. And that front line that they do have is slowly getting surrounded, flanked, routed and obliterated one by one. Let's see how the counterattack on B looks. The Foxmen are now going to chase the glaives over to the healing zone to deny the healing. They're blocking the spearmen from getting out of the point, but the point itself isn't being captured. There we go, now they're putting one of the Foxmen on top of it. Pikes are going to do the same to break the point here, but the China If they put their spearmen a little bit further, they will be able to contest and delay the capture. There we go, yep. B is contested, but it will be captured sooner or later. And just look at it, all those range units just being chased away and neutralized by single melee unit. The French team really needs to get their front lines together. And even if they won the range duel here in the center, doesn't really matter because, well, they do get a little bit of XP, but the Chinese team can just very quickly heal over here at C, while the French team has to go all the way back here to the base while still being pursued by melee units. A very nice focus fire here straight into a friendly infantry, but it won't really matter because the healing zone is here. All it matters is just getting rid of this one pesky infantry that keeps chasing the ranged units. Well, with that being said, the French team has given up a lot of ground in the center as they don't have just sufficient resources, as they committed a lot of them to B, and well, they took it. They will be able to mop up any remaining Chinese units here. Pike phalanx dropped in time very nicely. We'll be able to mow down those glaives pretty quickly. B has now been recaptured by the French team, but it's still only 2 points held to 3. A is being attacked by the Chinese team again. Forces, well, China is in an advantage, 4 units, 5th incoming against only 2 units of the French team. And as soon as they get surrounded, or just they will be obliterated by pikes. There we go, pike phalanx, foxmen and dogs from behind equals a routed and obliterated unit. And A is going to be captured by the Chinese team. There's really nothing coming as reinforcements. Well, the archers are and the repeating crossbows are, but that is not going to be enough. That just cannot contest the point. They have support of 2 melee units. Let's see, a lot of cavalry has now just respawned. The pikes have recalled back to the base after capturing B. Cavalry as well is healing up here, as well as foxmen. Let's see if the French team can launch some sort of a counter-attack. China has decided not to cap A and just rush straight forward onto these ranged units. They can cap it with these units, I guess. So maybe not fully optimized in terms of time, but whatever, they will get the job done. They're willing to sacrifice that for just pushing away and stopping that counter-attack in its roots. Nice foxman charge into the archers. Archers didn't react in time, and that unit is going to be in trouble. It has some support from their own swords, but they won't be able to rout the pikes, the foxmen. The glaives are also getting on top of the archer unit. Let's see, another unit being chased by another ranged is being chased by a melee unit. It will be sacrificed, but just look at how much ground the Chinese team is getting. Like, yeah, sure, they're sort of suiciding, sacrificing their units, but the French team is nowhere near getting A back, and that is what they need to do if they want to win the game. They started contesting C with 2-3 pike units, but the French team's forces on top of C are just way too strong, way too numerous. Pikes will be surrounded. There we go. Let's see if they can get a flank. That's a left flank and a rear flank. The morale was 0, but it is low, and he has held the line, and he will spin to win. So that's a really nice pike formation. The French team is now launching attack on E with their cavalry. Obviously, there's no way the cavalry is going to win against infantry, but it stops the point bleed ever so slightly. Instead of the French team getting 4.5 points per second, they're only getting 3. So the French team has a little bit more time to find some kind of a counter-attack again. They heat up the ranged unit. They're sending them back into the center. The repeating crossbows have been wrecked by the archers, but that has been responded in kind. But again, the Chinese team has a very nicely placed healing zone over here at C, while the repeating crossbows will need to go back to the base, and that's not something that they're doing. C is no longer contested, but the pikes have been killed. And the spears were trying to make their way over there, but now they're caught in a blob. A blob could just honestly just push towards C and start getting contested and start capping maybe. As you can see, the French team forces in the area are kind of superior, but there are reinforcements coming to both E and C from the base. Let's see, they have 1 unit of Foxmen, 2 units of cavalry. I don't really see why they should reinforce E, as there's nothing really coming. 2 units of Foxmen kind of AFK here, useless at the B. Not really putting up any pressure. I don't know if the French team really can afford the luxury of preventing any sort of backups. It's all or nothing at this moment. They have finally put their blow of spears on top of C, and the Chinese team is already dispersing to prepare for flanking maneuvers surrounding that blob and cutting it down. There is range support from both teams. Chinese archers are focusing the blob, the French archers are focusing the units that are surrounding the blob. It's a very interesting dynamic. The repeating crossbows have finally now gone back to healing, but the French team is making the mistake of just putting 1 unit by 1 by 1 by 1 instead of getting some kind of an organized push, and they're just also retreating, healing, and feeding the Chinese team a player after player. So that is really not going to work, especially with a ranged composition like that, with 2 ranged players. Let's see, they got the pikes. Let's see what they can do. Not really much, because everywhere is just French units as well in front. We'll see if they will decide on some kind of friendly fire. I know the Chinese pike player has no such remorse, and he'll just mow down friends and foes alike in his pike phalanx. It doesn't matter for him, he just needs to right click forward and BOP. But the French team has some kind of reflexes about friendly fire, but now he decides against it, and he will just mow down his allies as well. They need to push out the enemy out of C, even at the cost of killing their own friends, and that's what they're finally doing. But can they? Now this unit has been charged and reflanked, left flanked as well, but Hold the Line is holding them alive, but it is about to expire. Let's see, minus 50 morale. Can he get another Hold the Line? And nope, not in time. The unit has routed, but another one has replaced it, and it's now mowing down both spears and Folksmen. The repeating crossbows have been caught out by a charge of spears again, and the archers are going to suffer the same fate if they don't retreat, or they're just going to be pushed back again. And the Chinese team is looking to be very much in control of C. The Chinese archers have healed up and are now firing and shooting the pikes. Pikes are going to go down any second now. They just need a flank. There we go. Fear will do it as well. Last single French unit on top of C. The Chinese team is looking to win any second now. The French team is sending a single unit towards A. That is not going to work. E contest has been stopped, as the cavalry and Folksmen that were attacking it were obliterated. And yes, the Folksmen are holding point B, but what of it really? Let's see. The contest for C is about to end, as this unit is about to die. There we go. It's no longer there. And the Chinese team wins quite convincingly the opening match of the National Cup. They're leading 1-0 against the French team, and we'll see if the French team can win the second battle of the match and make a tie, or will they lose 2-0. But until then, I'll see you on Arena's Battlefields, Commanders.